Watford have hired yet another manager under the Pozzos. Claudio Ranieri was fired. The leak that was coming out of Watford before Ranieri went was that they were going to get the new manager in place before it was announced. And that obviously meant talking to an out-of-work Roy Hodgson, who finished up with Palace at the end of last season. And Roy, the boy, Hodgson, has been announced today. We'd seen pictures of him at London Colney at the Watford training ground earlier today, hadn't we? So we knew it was coming, but the official announcement came about an hour and a half ago, just before we started this stream. So we couldn't talk about it until now. There you go on the Watford website. Watford FC is delighted to confirm the appointment of Roy Hodgson as the club's manager. The ex-England national team boss is joined by trusted assistant Ray Lewington, who managed the Hornets so admirably from 2002 to 2005. So there's some brownie points and likability points straight away, bringing back Ray Lewington with him. Best known for leading the Three Lions. Is he? I wouldn't have thought so. I think he's done many jobs, hasn't he? Liverpool, Inter, Fulham. He took them to a European final there. So, obviously the biggest job is the England job, isn't it? But there you go. So he took England Euro 2012, World Cup 2014 and 2016. Hodgson also managed extensively at club level across the world. Oh, there you go. Most notably in this country, led Fulham to their highest ever Premier League. Blah, blah, blah. Led the Eagles, Crystal Palace there to 11th place finish in 17-18. Despite taking over a team that had lost its first 4 league matches without finding the net. It's also managed Malmo, Inter, Copenhagen, Udinese. And of course, there is a link with the Pozzos, who own Udinese as well. Hodgson and Lewington begin preparations immediately for Watford's next Premier League fixture against Burnley. Nice, easy one for Roy to begin with. An absolutely vital game straight away. So Hodgson in. Again, I said this when we were talking about Ranieri, that a lot of the talk whenever Watford hire a manager is just all about the Pozzos and how many managers they've had and all of that stuff. I think what we do need to admit is this does feel like a bit of an upgrade. I think Hodgson's like 74 or something, so he's not going to be there for 5-10 years, is he? It's a short-term contract, I believe, until the end of the season. But Claudio had he lost like 10 out of 12 games or something ludicrously bad like that, 10 in 13, something like that, Claudio Ranieri. So it does feel like a bit of an upgrade because everybody knows exactly what Roy Hodgson will do. He's done the same thing wherever he's been, gets his team really organised, one of the best team shape managers, if you like that sort of thing, that you'll find. And Danny Murphy talks a lot about Roy Hodgson. He's obviously a big fan when he's doing his punditry on the radio, Danny Murphy. And I think it's very straightforward instructions and a lot of repetition. Not necessarily too much playing off the cuff, but certainly for those defensive players and defensive midfielders, Roy Hodgson will obviously create a team that is hard to beat. And I suppose the argument with the Watford attackers, with the likes of Ismail Assar, Hernandez, King, especially Emmanuel Dennis, who's been very, very decent. Those front players, there are probably goals in that team for Watford. So I suppose the argument is, can he sort them out, get them organised? Because there's probably goals in the team that haven't looked good defensively, have they? Signed a few players, and a lot of people mentioned this to me. Ben, why are Watford bringing in 3 players? I think Kayembe, the midfielder, Kamara, the left back, and Samir, the centre back, had all come in and gone straight into the team. But hey, we know about Watford recruitment. They'll pick out players from the French league, from the Spanish league, African players, European players from countries that pretty innovative, and they do pick out some good ones, don't they? But we then do get that revolving door of managers. Although in this instance, I'm not entirely sure it's not a justified upgrade. And as much as I like Claudio Ranieri and like him as a person, his points output was so poor that it does seem to be, take a manager who's managed in London for years and years. Watford, obviously, it's Hertfordshire, isn't it? But I assume Roy's not had to move to travel up to London Colney for the training each day. And honestly, it seems to be a reasonably sensible hire for my money. There's the Premier League table, just a horrifically low tide down the bottom there. You look at a point per game for survival. Nobody's anywhere near. In fact, Everton, who are fifth bottom, don't have a point per game, 19 from 20. So for those four down the bottom there, Burnley, Watford, Newcastle, Norwich, I've said this for a while now. It's just a case of, can anyone put even the slightest of runs together? Anyone get to 33 points, maybe? You might well stay up the way it's going. Obviously, that narrative down there is who's going to put the run together, and all eyes are kind of on Newcastle, aren't they, in terms of the signings, on Burnley, who do seem to get it right, but something feels a bit different about Burnley this season. Norwich aren't favoured, are they, in terms of their sort of Premier League history? However, they are currently out of the bottom three. Go figure, they won 2 games on the trot, and this is what will happen down the bottom there. Can anyone score 12 points in 10 games? Something like that. I suspect you'll be most of the way to survival if everything stays the same and we don't get a big rise of the tide at the same time. So Roy Hodgson in at Watford. I know the Potsos move a lot of managers in and out, but it does seem to be some kind of upgrade, and the players weren't buying into Ranieri, were they? And I think I'm right in saying 10 defeats in 13 games. Yeah, they drew against Newcastle, didn't they? That was a good result. They beat Manchester United and they beat Everton. Essentially, they drew a relegation game under Ranieri and beat 2 teams where the manager was just about to be sacked. In fact, Solskjaer got sacked, didn't he, for Man United after losing to Watford. So it makes some sense, although I know I'll get a lot of reaction saying Watford are crazy. They do this too much. But sometimes they're wrong, the Potsos, and they just fire that manager as well. But they have been right a fair few times, haven't they? Last season was a reasonable example of taking Ivic out, putting Xisco Munoz in. But it is going to be 3 managers across this season, minimum. They have had 4 before, but remember when Watford had 4 in 2014-15 in the Championship? Got promoted that season, didn't they? So, look, sometimes it works, although I know a lot of fans are pretty suspicious about it. However, I think my conclusion is, given the situation they're in, it's kind of like, what's the worst that can happen with Roy Hodgson for the last few months of the season? That is my reaction to Roy the Boy going in at Watford, and I will get to your comments right now. Probably won't have time to read them all because I tend to waffle on a little bit, but we'll try and get some comments in. Roy will be 75 this year. What a legend, hey? Absolute legend. Hope he doesn't get an unfair sacking for all his trouble. Could be his last. It could be as well. Could it be Claudio's last job? It could be. Yeah, although I'm sure he'll jump back in, won't he? Ewan, surprised Roy wanted to join after retiring a few months ago. I hope he can get us out of the drop. We'll be happy with 17th as long as we don't get relegated. There we go. Ollie, too cynical to say that Roy knows how this will end and beefing up his pension. Maybe, Ollie, you'd have to ask Roy. I'm sure, given the decades he's had in the game, he's not hard up for a pound or two, isn't it? So there we go. Anything else on Roy there? I think Josh agrees there. Nice retirement package. Anything else on Hodgson? Mike, loved Roy at Fulham, but he's out of his time and obviously isn't the future of the club. Great guy to get you out of trouble, though. The Great Escape of 7-8 was amazing. Look, we know exactly what he's going to do, Mike, don't we? So there you go. Surprised Ray Lewington hasn't taken another manager. Sometimes some people just aren't cut out for it, and they prefer to be, the second in command. So I guess that's Ray Lewington's style there. Chris, he may improve the defence, but will suppress the attack. Can't see them winning often. Last thing today, would get Warnock in there. That would be tremendous, wouldn't it? If it was the old Ashley Newcastle about, Roy could have got Watford out of trouble. Maybe. It's between Watford and Newcastle for that 17th spot. A fairly sensible appointment. Hopefully, he makes up with Harry the Hornet. Yeah, nice one, guys. And good to see you guys showing some respect for Roy Hodgson as well, because I think sometimes in the football sphere, when these managers are getting on in years, people are a bit disrespectful of what they've given to the game. And it is literally 40, 50 years worth of service to the game for Roy. I know some England fans, look, it didn't work for England. I can't say Roy was never going to be a great international manager because he was good with Switzerland, wasn't he? But look, it didn't work for England, his kind of gradual pattern of play style. So, yeah, there we go. A lot of respect for Roy. I think he's been unfairly treated. Didn't work at Liverpool, but he didn't do a great job at Liverpool, did he? He's just one of these guys. I agreed with something I heard Simon Jordan say. He's almost better when the club's struggling and in trouble because he just gets everything organised as well.